Hello to everybody in YouTube land. Today I am putting insulation in a loft. I've been working on this most of the morning and all of yesterday. The plan here is to tidy up all the yellow fiberglass, which is sitting on about 50 mil of sheep's wool, and then go over with this mineral wool topping. You can see I've done it there, and over here the same. This is quite a big loft. That's the extent of the job. It's huge. So what I've done in these, between the support walls, there's these little rooms, if you will. I'm working on the third one. I've got one more to do down there. You can see in there. And then I have to do, it's about the same area again. I've replaced that water tank with a combi boiler. We don't need that anymore, so although I won't take it out because it's asbestos, I'll take the insulation off and tidy it up. On this side I boarded this out, which can be used for storage. Down at this end, where the boards end, I'm going to cut these back to this third joist here, where my foot is there, so I can run the mineral wool right the way across there, because that's an outside wall. So where the flooring is, it's an interior wall here, so it doesn't really matter if it's not insulated all the way, and the storage is useful. The biggest part of the job was that the fiberglass wasn't run all the way over to the eaves. It was, in some cases, it was 30 centimeters short. I've had to move all the fiberglass over to the edge of the wall, allowing an air gap. I don't know if I can show that to you, but you can see there that that's the sort of thing I'm doing, is I'm leaving an air gap all the way down at the bottom, so the air can come through. I've had to move the fiberglass forward, and so I've had some shortfalls here where I've insulated with cut-offs of the mineral wool. Places along the edge there between the wall and the first ceiling joist was never done, so I've filled that in as well. And I'm using 200 mil mineral wool, which I'm running across. That's just gone in, it started to expand. So it's a big job, and luckily we've had some fairly cool weather. But I suspect as the afternoon progresses it's going to get hotter. It did yesterday. I worked till about 3 and then I had to stop. It was just too hot. I think it's really important to seal up any gaps between walls and rafters, joists. Try to pull your electric wire if there's room, bring it up onto the top, which I've done in some cases. For example, there's a coaxial cable there that's running along the top. And I'll lift these wires up as much as possible. We've got a certificate here of the work that they did for the original owner of the flat. This was done in '96. It says on the paperwork that fiberglass is 150 mil, but actually I think it's more like 100 mil. It's been packed down quite tight. I mean, it barely comes above the joists. There's about 5 or 6 mil of lamb's wool underneath, which I can show you here if I can pull a piece up. Yeah, I think it's lamb's wool, I don't know. If anybody knows what that is, let me know, but it's only a few centimeters thick. Well, here I am the next morning. I just thought I'd show you what I did yesterday. Put some light on it. So you can see that area there, it's all framed. So behind there is done. You can see the height there, that's at least 20 centimeters. There's a slight little dip there in the middle which I can reach over and sort of fluff that up a bit. It didn't unpack as much as the others. Over there it lifts up slightly, and there's an extraction fan pipe that runs, one of those sort of flexible pipes, plastic things with wire, a coil of wire supporting the exterior wall of the pipe that's running up through the ceiling. It goes through the wall there and out into a vent outside, which is essentially a hole cut in the soffit. You can see I got these two halogen lamps and screw fixed. They've been quite useful actually. I just hung them up on this rack. They're supposed to go onto a radiator to dry some clothes, but it hooks on there nicely. So today I'm over in there, which is the widest of them all, and that's the last one I'm doing. That's all four of those will be fitted, properly insulated. It's a massive job actually. It took longer than I thought. This is my third day now. And then after that I'll be going ahead and doing this. I thought I'd complete the flooring around the hatch. That's something I didn't do before. I ran out of board. But since I've got some extra cut-offs where I've shortened it at one end, I can put that in. And then I'm going to put a little piece across there, so if somebody has to come and service this this water tank in the future, they've got something to stand on. Yesterday I cut the floor back. It used to go all the way to pretty much to the first joist there. It was slightly shy of the first joist. It was overhanging a bit. So I've cut it back and I've attached it to the joist. You can see that there. It's all screwed down. You can see there along the wall there was a gap between the last joist and the brick wall. So I've tucked some of the insulation down between the joist and the wall. Getting a bit closer so you can see. So the joist is there, and I've squeezed the insulation down the back, let it stand up a bit, and what that's done is it's meant that the distance between the edge of the insulation there and the edge of the flooring is exactly the width of the roll. So I'm now going to roll out the width of there to there. So that's basically lining up with the edge of the floor. And then I've got another piece which I'm going to roll all the way down there, which I've already cut to the right width, which you can see it there. I found a good tip with this stuff is if you need an unusual width, like that one, take a saw. I use an old panel saw with a fairly fine tooth. You want a fairly fine tooth saw so you don't rip it about too much. And you can mark on the plastic the width you want. Basically just cut through it, literally cut through it like cutting through a sausage. Saw your way through. It takes a while because it's fairly tightly compacted, but then you can get exactly the width you want. It's pretty accurate. It does come in 3 different pieces stuck together. Basically what they've done is they've cut through it and left about 3 centimeters still attached to hold it together, and you can separate it if you want to put it between joists, that sort of thing. But to be honest, I found it was more trouble than it was worth. If you're rolling out full width like I have been, I find it makes the insulation quite floppy. It tears apart quite easily when you're moving it. For example, rolling out against the eaves at the back there wasn't enough room for the entire roll to be placed up against the edge, so I had to roll it out, cut it, and then kind of lift it in stages and push it back against the eaves, against the roof rafters. It wasn't possible to do it from the roll, so that was a bit of extra work because it's quite floppy and it's quite difficult to move because it actually sticks to the fiberglass underneath. They kind of grip each other, so you have to literally lift it up and push it back. I used a grabber stick, which I have here. You can see it's massively useful. You can grab the end of the roll and you can push it right into the far side where the eaves are. So imagine that there's a roll of insulation there, so I'd run this underneath the insulation against the rafter, and then kind of lift it up in the air and then jiggle and push the felt where it needed to be. So essentially I've done that with each rafter, gone along the rafter, lifted it up and then pushed it. I may have to do 2 adjustments. It might happen the first time, it might not. You've got to jiggle and wiggle it and get it up against the rafter to close that gap up in the far corner there. It's not an easy job. I think I've sweated gallons of sweat just doing this. It's quite hot in the loft. Well, today I finished the loft. I did all that area that you're looking at now. Came up to the sides of the tank. I didn't go under the tank because there needs to be an air gap there apparently. This one is not being used, so I went all underneath that, insulated that area underneath the tank. Right into each of these rooms. It's been a huge amount of work. This is a big old space. I'll come out in front here. You can see the cut edge there. And there. Keeps going in and out of focus. Got a nice edge there, just sitting comfortably behind these little stands. These are actually table legs, which I had them on eBay. I was trying to sell them, I couldn't get a buyer for them. So I thought, you know what? Put them upside down, screw them to the floor. And I've just put these little rings, screwed that into the bottom. Put a piece of rope through it. So that works really good. Makes it clear where to walk and where not to walk. Sometimes children might come up here, so they might see all that fluffiness and decide to jump on it or something, because kids do that sort of thing. I extended the floor here. Originally the floor just came up to here where my foot is, so I went all the way over there, all the way out, and just filled in there between those 2 2x4s. There was nothing there before, so just to square it off so it looks nice. Just a nice way to finish it. That tank there belongs to the flat below. I just decided to tape that up a bit better because it was falling apart and the jacket had fallen off, so basically I just thought I'd give it a little bit of a tidy up to finish up. Went underneath the pipes with the insulation. Day 1 was these 2. Day 2 was that. Day 3 was doing the floor down there, rolling all this out up to there. Day 4 was that under there, and working on the floor here, finishing this up. And day 5 was today, when I did all this. Now that's 5 days, and you think, well, guys come in and they just roll this out in a day, or less than a day, 2 people working. But I did have a lot of work to do with the existing insulation underneath here that needed to be moved about, basically refitted. I cleaned the back of the hatch there underneath the ladder, tidied that up, and just swept everything up. It needed a good sweep, hadn't been swept in many years, so it's all nice and tidy. Anyway, thanks for watching, hope you appreciate this. It's doable if you don't mind walking around on the rafters. I did lay a board down, but for the most part it wasn't much use. I was just careful. I only had one time where my foot's kind of slipped, and but I didn't have my weight on it, so I was okay. So I was pretty lucky. I didn't have any problems with falling through or damaging anything. But there is always that risk. There's always that risk. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you at the next video. Take care now. Bye.